once the press machine came around and then the Bible was made into people's presses on pages, it was altered into what.
Okay, so before we go further, Toby, you keep teaching them. You say the Bible was altered.
I believe it was.
Okay, what part of the Bible was altered?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I'm just showing you, you're just regurgitating stuff you heard. You cannot prove anything out of this book that was altered. I'm just showing you that's how they got it wrong. Guess what? If you would have asked your grandfather that, he would have said either that or a twisted version of the same answer. I'm black, I'm Negro, African American. Where in the Bible does it teach us where that?
Well, yeah, African American is something that came up like way back.
That's in the 1980s, that's corn. Yes, I know, but my point is, before you got on slave ships and came here, who were we? The same reason you're making that face is that's why the church got it wrong. That's why the church got it wrong. Deuteronomy 28.
People that didn't know anything about Judaism, Christians.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Because we are the original Christians. But the Christianity today, like what we see across the street over there, that's some new garbage from the white man. That started from the Roman Catholic Church. You're right about that. But being a Christian, Acts 11:26 first. Got to correct you on that statement. Because what does Christ mean? Do you know what that means?
What does Christ mean?
Yes, the word Christ. Like Jesus the Christ?
I don't know.
Okay, good. Christ means anointed. So us being the Christians, we were the anointed ones. The ones that followed Christ when he walked the earth. Okay, go ahead.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 26.
What's this?
And when he had found him, and he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the people, with the church, and taught much people.
So these are the disciples. Watch what the people called them.
And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
So the first time people were called the disciples, the anointed ones that followed Christ when he walked the earth. It was actually a derogatory term at the time. It was a mockery. Oh, look at the Christians over there. The anointed ones, the ones that follow Christ. That's where it comes from. Now Christianity, that word is nowhere to be found in the Bible. You probably didn't know that. Because look, in the church that you're asking about, what book do they use? The Bible, right?
The King James.
Okay, but it's still a form of the Bible, right?
Yeah.
But in that same Bible they teach out of, it doesn't tell you, say you came from a Methodist church.
Yeah.
In the same book, Methodist is nowhere to be found. In the same book, Protestant is nowhere to be found.
I don't disagree with you there.
You don't have to disagree with me, that's just a fact.
I don't understand where that all comes from.
Yeah.
I can drive from this town to that town and then look at church signs and say,
you're asking the question, but look for that. Look, watch. You said, where does it come from? I just want you to look behind you. Turn around, just look that way. You see that right there? That's where it comes from. That's where it comes from. When we had them slave shackles on us, guess what? Whatever the religion of your slave master was, fell upon you, Greg.
No doubt.
That's why you became a Methodist. Why do you think you're a Methodist and another so-called black man in Alabama is Presbyterian?
I can't tell you why my grandmother was.
I can. I can.
Why my mother was.
But hold up. I can. Because of this, Greg. Whatever plantation you were on, you pulled the religion. Guess what? What's your last name, Greg?
Cannon.
Okay. You think that came from your heritage? You think you had the name Cannon?
It came from somewhere. I don't know where.
I can tell you where that came from too. The same man that gave you religion. That's why. What's a famous black? Johnson is a last name. Smith, Moore, Wyte, Jenkins. These are not our names. You don't read about the book of Jenkins. You don't read that. Those names come from your oppressor, just like your education did, just like your religion did. Guess what? Your economics did. You have bills in your pocket right now with the face of the same man that gave you the last name you got, gave you the religion you got, gave you the hospital's medical system you all come from the same place. Why are we confused? The same place you got your education, it's the same place you got your religion. It's the same, you got the package deal, Greg. Let's read it. Deuteronomy 28.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15.
Now we're going to prove it. Get verse 37 after this. Read.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Now, Greg, you said, where did it come from? The root was disobedience. We disobeyed God, then something happened. Go ahead.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
We did not listen to his laws and statutes. Go ahead.
That all these curses.
Now, that's the word I want you to focus on. all these curses, go ahead,
shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Now I need every so-called black, Latino, and Native American person who can hear me, all those from Haiti, all of you to hear this curse we're about to read. Go ahead.
Verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment.
The first part, it says, you and your race are going to become an astonishment, an amazement. It's amazing how low of an estate we are in society. It's amazing that we have so many people. We have the most consumer buying power in the U.S., but all that money we put into Gucci, Prada, Louis, all brands of men that don't look like you and I. We put all that into society. In a week, you guys are going to sit at the dinner table and put all your money to buying turkeys from the white man and go, let us pray and hold hands because the white man is gracious, even though we're celebrating the day where he destroyed and killed all of our grandfathers and Native American brothers that walked in America. That's amazing. Go ahead.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb.
And a proverb. What's a proverb? You know what that is?
I know the proverb is.
What's that?
The point that I want to...
Wait, before we go there, stick with me. I'm going to take you too long about rain, but we're going to get the point.
Okay.
Go ahead. What's a proverb?
The way I see it, it's basically a proclamation.
No. So, for example, there's a book of Proverbs here. A proverb is a wise saying. So, a proverb that we've turned into today, I'll give you one. Black people, y'all like fried chicken, grape soda, things of that nature. Not all black people like that stuff, but that's what's said. I was told one in school, they said, what's the difference between a black man and a bunk bed? A bunk bed can support 2 children. Those things have fallen upon us embarrassing because we become a proverb. Go ahead.
A proverb and a byword.
This is a big one. He said, you Israelites, in the future, which is now, because Moses was in the past, so now we're in the future. He said, you're going to become a byword. A byword is something you're going to be titled outside your God-given name. You told me today, you're African-American, you're black, Negro, whatever you want to call it, Haitian, whatever you want to call it. It's a byword. You don't read those words in the Bible. You only read black to describe the color of the Israelites. But you understand, Greg?
Absolutely.
Because you become a byword. That's one point the church got wrong. Go ahead.
A proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Now, big point right here. Get verse 64.
Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other.
History question for you. How did our people get scattered across the earth?
I want to say initially against their will.
Yes. How? What mode of transportation do you think?
Oh, it was ships by Europeans.
Okay. So you know history. That's just a fact. That's not what you believe, or that's just facts. That's why I'm not on the eastern hemisphere of the world right now. I'm standing in America.
I like to think of myself as somewhat of a history buff, just because I'm curious about things.
Okay, that's good. That's perfect. Now watch. Read.
Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there.
Okay, since you're a history buff, and there, what name a slave trade?
The National Atlantic slave trade, which I think was the biggest one.
Okay, the transatlantic slave trade. What else? What happened before that?
I have no idea what was before that.
Okay, one before that is the sub-Saharan slave trade. You heard of that?
I don't think so.
Okay, the sub-Saharan slave trade was when our people were traded just like in the transatlantic, but this time it involved the Arabs. We were in slavery to the Arabs.
Yeah.
Now, under the transatlantic slave trade, I'm going to use that one because you have more familiarity with that. What religion did we get?
The slaves that didn't decide to kill themselves going across the Atlantic Ocean, back over here, they were introduced to Christianity.
They were introduced to Christianity.
Yes.
Watch what
And there,
when you get scattered on these slave ships, what you gonna get?
thou shalt serve other gods.
You're gonna get other gods. Before those men put Christianity on our people, do you think that's what we knew in the past?
No.
No, because it's a new God they put upon you to serve. Go ahead.
Thou shalt serve other gods,
What's one of these gods?
which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood.
Even wood. What's the main symbol of Christianity?
The cross.
The cross. What was the cross made out of? Wood. That wood that we worship is the same wood that you got when you go back to. That's that wood that you worshiping right there. People say, oh, we don't worship the cross. Then why the hell do you do this? You worshiping the cross. You don't do a sign of Jesus' black face. You do this because that's your God. What's the other God?
Even wood and stone.
Oh my gosh. Now, the two major religions that the black people go into is either Christianity or what's the other religion? Islam. What do you think they worship in Islam?
Allah.
They call it Allah, but what does God say?
And stone.
And stone. There's 5 pillars to Islam. We know this because we study these things. I can tell you about Christianity. I can tell you about Islam, and I can tell you why they're wrong. They're both just 2 different slave religions. One was given by the white man, one was given by the Arabs. So, wait, before you go, wait, we go deal with your first one. In Islam, there's a commandment that you need to fulfill the 5th pillar and go to Mecca, make a pilgrimage to Mecca, walk around a big black stone called the Kaaba stone. You heard of the Kaaba stone?
Yeah.
That's the stone they worship. Okay, so if you're worshiping Allah, why do you have to go visit a stone, kiss a stone, and walk around a stone?
I don't know.
Because they're worshiping stone. That's what it is.
Doesn't make sense to
That's
me.
the answer. It don't make sense to nobody. It's idolatry.
In agreement, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Look at my question for a second.
Okay, what's the question?
Without colonization, Africa doing whatever we want to do, what's our religion?
Okay, perfect. Get verse 15 again. Because, like I said, God never told, hey, if you do not accept the Baptist religion, you're going to do this.
How do we separate from what I believe so many other white people like doctrinated and then separated what the Bible, what they wanted it to be? Like, how do we separate it into what it originally was?
Exactly. So that's what we're about to get.
Because I believe originally it originated in Africa, and then once the press machine came around and then the Bible was made into people's presses on pages, it was altered into what.
Okay, so before we go further, Toby, you keep teaching them. You say the Bible was altered.
I believe it was.
Okay, what part of the Bible was altered?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I'm just showing you, you're just regurgitating stuff you heard. You cannot prove anything out of this book.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models.